Hey everybody, my name is Malik Foster and welcome to the Counterpoints podcast. I'm joined by my co-host here. You'd like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Everett Stevenson, and we are down one of our co-hosts right now, Samantha Adams. She's out, but she will be joining us very soon. So we just want to go ahead and acknowledge that we are short one person, but you guys know we always have Sam our thoughts and minds as we move forward here today with the show. Today we look to discuss one of the more trending topics that's been going on out here, and in regards to a young lady out in Houston who recently went viral for being struck with a brick, I believe, to her head. There's video images of her doing a interview with like a big swollen side of her face. And it sparked a conversation in regards to, of course, one of the things that we talked about a lot in the past, which is, men protecting women, um, and in particular, we wanted to look to see why some individuals felt the need to publicly come forth and say why they had not protected her, and then discuss options and things that we think that also could have taken place in that situation that may have been able to remedy the results, or excuse not remedy, but pardon me, prevented some of the actions that ended up taking place. So for a little more background information, I don't know if we have like a video of the lady.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna
Sure.
cue up the video which gives the background of the situation. The video was by the lady Rhoda Bachet. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. So she was the lady who was uh, hit with the brick. So let me cue that up so you guys can see that right now. And yeah, so this is the video here by courtesy of TikTok Jamaica. Thank you very much. So I'll play this video and we'll react in a bit.
Yo, this man just hit me in my face with a brick, and all these black men just watch, and they don't give a. Yeah, this man hit me. He would grab the rock and he hit me in my face, and I would have given him my number. And all y'all just watch. What do you want to see? What do you want to see? What do you want to do? I want y'all to be a man. I want y'all to be a man. Y'all gonna let a man hit me in my face? Oh, yeah. What have I ever done to anybody in my life to deserve this? I never did anything in my life to hurt anybody. Literally, a man asked me for my number. I said no, and he picked up a brick in front of so many men and was like, "What are you gonna do?" And I told all these men, like, yo, why this man got a brick on my face? And he's holding a brick. And all he's watching. And nobody does nothing. And he hits me in my face, and they're all just watching. And they let that get in a corner.
So I'm gonna stop it right there. It's pretty much just goes on a little bit more about the situation of being hit with the brick, how she felt and how she felt like a lot of guys should have stepped in and confronted this individual. So we don't know all the background, but we could say this. I know some people are saying, oh, there's this battle or beef or divide. Oh, those weren't FBA or descendants of slaves of Black Americans. It was more so Black immigrants that were standing around watching this take place. If you listen to the video, they did sound like they definitely had accents, but it's not to say that FBAs or descendants of slaves wouldn't watch either, because it's definitely a different day and time with the men, right? Across the board, whether you're a native to the United States or whether you just came over here and adopted the culture, and that culture isn't necessarily to meddle in other people's affairs and businesses because, sometimes, we see what happens when, everybody's not on the same page. Like we have examples of black men getting hurt or getting killed or getting in some sort of trouble sometimes. But we also have, we could just suppose that to incidents like we could even think about the recent incident in Alabama where everybody came together on one page and they stood up for one another. So, I think there was differences here because we saw like the injustice from the beginning to the end, as opposed to in this situation, this lady, we just see the end result of, you know, the injury she suffered and, her point of view of the story. We don't know exactly did she antagonize this man, not to say that justifies her getting hit with a brick or what transpired. So you want to jump in, E? I know I've been talking a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that, it's a tragic situation, of course. Like, first off, for her to have to get struck and like that. Um, but unfortunately, I just kind of feel like, again, some of the reaction that came off from that situation, the anger that lady may have had towards these individuals, will lead me to believe that maybe some of that came off as well in regards to maybe the individual who may have assaulted her, simply because, generally, if you have a more peaceful nature, I think you generally going to be that. And I get like getting hit inside your head with a brick could cause a person to feel, very unpeaceful in that moment. But I just feel like for her to, attack the people that was around her, for her to yell at them and be like, oh, it's all of these men and this, that, and the third, but there were no maybe mention of her asking maybe some of these guys to escort her to wherever she was going, or any of those things that may have been in place that could have also changed the situation. While I do think that, again, it is very misfortunate for her to get struck upside her head, I think for her to blame everyone else around her for that action is kind of crazy because, again, everyone didn't take the action. Now, her being like, hey, y'all could have helped or y'all could have, stopped him from continuously beating me. That's sure. That's one thing too. And, or maybe trying to see, could they have jumped in before he hit her with the brick? Because it sounds like the way she's making it seem is as though like he had the brick in his hand, there was some dialogue, and then he struck her. You know what I'm saying? But I don't understand, like, did she stand there and argue with the man when he had the brick in his hand? Did she continue to move forward? Did she try to run away from the guy? Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Did he throw the brick at her and it hit her in her head? I don't necessarily know all of those factors, but, something leads me to believe like she might have sat there. He said something like, can I get your number? She might have ignored it or whatever the case may be. She replied in the manner that he may not have felt comfortable with for whatever reason after that. She may have chose to say something back or something, somehow, some way. He had enough time to pick up a brick and strike her with it. And again, I know that could be within a matter of seconds, but the way she made it seem was like, oh, she yelled out to everybody, like, look, he got this brick. Y'all do something. And that to me kind of throws me off a little bit because it's like, if you had time to try to alert some people to say, hey, like, you know what I mean? Then it sound like you might have had time to get away from the situation as well. And that's why I'm kind of like puzzled as to, was this an antagonizing type of situation where an individual may have been there kind of, and I don't want to say provoking it, but kind of lingering, kind of allowing for the violence to escalate, and that's the accountability that I think that has to be held on the young lady's part in that regards. But in regards to the other individuals around, there's been a lot of talk about how that should play out, like regardless of if she was even being disrespectful to the man, that's not something that she deserved. If even if the man was upset, of course, we all know, like, just because you got rejected doesn't mean that you should be physically putting your hands on people or hitting people with other objects. So we know that those things were wrong. But I also think that, like, we can look at, how could that situation be prevented, right? And I just got done speaking to some of the things that maybe she could have done, but some of the things that could have been done maybe from members in the crowd, right? So I saw a video and I can't think of the guy's name, but he made reference to a few steps that people could do. And then one of those was, of course, contact the police. First thing first, when you see people maybe in the issue that may be of some type of domestic violence, and I think you kind of mentioned it too, considering the fact that in today's day and age, sometimes you may try to help someone who seems to be a victim in a situation because you see them being abused, and in turn, that individual and the person who was just abusing them may both jump on you. You know what I'm saying? Because again, you don't know their situation, you don't know what's going on. Da 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 da. She still loved the man who's abusing her, so she sees someone attacking him, then she might want to attack him, even though that person was coming to aid her, right? Like a Stockholm type of situation.
Yeah, yeah. I was saying, like, even though it's not right, like for a man or anybody put hands on each other on the boat, like we don't know the whole story, right? Like, what is she antagonizing? What did she do to him? Like, we only know her side. I don't know. So far, we haven't seen any video or anybody report of like, okay, she was just it was just a normal argument. The guy just picked up a brick and slapped her with it. Like, that's not what we're being told. All we know is, she got slapped with a brick. She felt like all those men that were black, whether they were black American or black immigrants or whatever, she felt like those black men should have stepped in and diffused the situation. Or after she was hit by the brick, they should have like attacked the guy. Like, maybe they didn't know all the facts, right? Maybe they just came at the end and just saw her get hit with a brick and just like, damn, you know. So, but in the video, you could hear exactly, them saying, "What do you want us to do?" So that does provide a very interesting, thing. Like, when women are attacked, what should men do, right? But go
Right.
ahead.
So yeah, I think again, like we said, if you're noticing that an attack is on a rise, and or you see that tempers are flaring, things of that nature, okay, bam, you contact the authorities, right? And then of course, dealing with that as well, the man mentioned, as a man, you need to analyze the situation. You need to look around and see what's going on. Is this the type of situation where again, like you said, it's a family situation where this might be whatever the situation may be, where it's a guy and say maybe 4 or 5 of their friends and family members or whatever are out. Somehow, some way, something happens, you're by yourself, you know what I'm saying? You may not have any other levels of protection on you. You can go into the situation and try to, remedy it. But again, you're also going to face that fact that, hey, now you fighting 5, 6 guys. You know what I'm saying? And like we said before, you could also be fighting a victim as well because they might jump in on you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to analyze the situation to make sure that it's one in which, one, you're not going to put yourself in greater danger than need to be. And then 2, you also can maybe try to save the victim and also maybe de-escalate the harm, right? So if you have options available to you that can do that, then that may be something that, could be in play as well. I think another thing could be as well, one of the things that the lady mentioned, and you kind of alluded to as well, was the people around all team up to say, hey man, stop that. We not, you know what I mean? Like, we not doing that. Okay, you made your point. You said what you had to say. Let's let it go. You know what I mean? All of that, putting hands on and striking them with objects, that's not necessary, and that's uncalled for. So the guys could have kind of banded together for that. I also think that, you know what I'm saying? I also think that that's another situation in which, they could have maybe stepped in front of the lady there, you know what I'm saying? And kind of shielded her from that. You know what I mean? If you would.
See, that's putting them at risk, right? That's kind of like the dilemma here. Like, okay, instead of her life being at risk, now their life is in risk, and they don't know the situation. They don't know her. Like, should men automatically in this day and age, modern men have that duty to protect women, regardless of, you know, knowing the facts, knowing anything. It's just an automatic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but see, I think that's one thing that's going to always be considered to be a job of a man, right? Is like to technically protect, right? Now, I think, and we've always discussed this as well, right? Like, so is this like a straight rule and we're going to protect every woman ever that you ever see if she's ever in any type of harm? And the ideal, right, you know what I'm saying, the ideal thought is like, yes, of course, if I see a woman in harm's way, then yes, I'm gonna go out my way to try to help, you know, that's the thought, right? But of course, like you said, in the world in which there's so many individuals who, you know, I don't need no help, I got it, thank you, you know what I mean, and those type of attitudes, those type of viewpoints, sometimes, you know, people might feel like, hey, I don't know what the situation is, you know what I'm saying? They don't know if the lady maybe have a gun on her, she might be strapped as well, and she might handle the situation herself.
so many variables.
And now, you know what I'm saying, she missed him, she hit you type of situation. You know what I mean? You got to look at it, you know, also too, like I said, you got to factor in what you're putting your risk up for. Because again, I think inherently there is a thought that, you know, you should take a risk to save a woman's life or save any life, a kid, another male, whoever, right? There is a risk that you're supposed to do that as a man. But I also think that you also have to you have to assess the risk of what could happen if your family was to take a loss with you, right? If you were no longer there to assist your family and you went and put your life on the line for a stranger, and that, you know, like you said, that could be honorable, but at the same time, what damage, you know, on the back end, what damage did that cause? You know what I mean? Because now your family may not have its provider available to them.
But yeah, that's why in this kind of situation, you got to take it by case, because every time, you know, somebody essentially is saying, hey, something wrongdoing was done to them, we gotta see what really comes out. Because what if this person was the the person who was provoking the situation, escalating it even further, or they have some sort of wrongdoing, and then you're saying, oh, okay, these guys don't put themselves, or a man, let's say one individual out of that group just decide to do what everybody would call the right thing, right? Which is interfere personally in this situation where you don't know if this guy had a gun. You know, it's taking place in Texas, so you know the gun laws are a lot less strict than compared to other places. So maybe that guy has a weapon on him. You just don't know. And do you really want to risk yourself for somebody you really don't know like that? A stranger, you know, all these things could be going to guys' minds, even though people should say, well, you know, guys should automatically want the duty to protect. But you got to think how modern men are being raised today. Like it's totally different. And modern women are being raised today differently too, because we also have the independent women movement. Women say they don't need a man, but until situations like this arise, and that's when they're saying, you know, a lot of modern women are saying, hey, where are the men at? And it's like, well, a lot of the men are modern men, so they're not going to be trying to step into situations like this. And also another factor here, you know, people should say that.
I want to hold off. I almost want to argue with you on the whole
Okay, go ahead.
modern men in particular, because I don't think that just because you're growing up in a world of technology and things of that nature, that it means that you don't necessarily have a desire to be a protector or a provider for your family per se, right? Like, but I think that also kind of comes into the play, right? Because now guys are looking at it like it's not my business. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
It's
Like
not
it's
like
not
an
my business.
automatic instinct now. It's like the guys stop and think about it more so, like because you
Absolutely.
instances of men being killed when they're trying to protect, or it's a big risk. Like
No,
especially
absolutely. We've seen that happen
nowadays.
over and over again, right? Like you said,
Yeah, and then those guys don't get any respect if they're injured or during death. They don't really get as much respect, and they're not highlighted as much. You know, it's no respect. There's no status. Nothing. You don't really get anything from protecting random women from harm.
yeah, it should be the altruistic nature of you knowing that you're helping to prevent a harm from occurring on an individual. Like that should be enough, right? Like this the fact that you're saying, hey, listen, I'm preventing someone from, you know what I'm saying, an injustice occurring, and I'm using the powers that I have to do such. That should be, you know, all the reward that you need, right? In general. But I think, you know, again, that risk of you just having that altruistic feeling of feeling good from stopping someone, and you having a chance of losing your life, you having a chance of you going to jail because when police get there, they don't know what was going on and who was doing what. So you know what I'm saying? They take everybody there, and then they let everything else figure out. Those risks that associate with it as well are harms that I think also do put people in the mindset of let me hold off. And I don't think that that's necessarily such a modern thing. I just think that it's also just kind of like looking at what's going on in society and seeing all of the things that's been happening and realizing that, you know what, hey, this isn't like a black and white type of situation where if I just do the right thing, the people in the crowd are going to say, hey, no, he was innocent and this, that, and the third. Like, no, they're going to, you know what I'm saying? And especially us in particular, being black men, if there's a situation where police are called and we're in it, you know what I mean? Before they even de-escalate and figure stuff out, they're gonna try to neutralize us and put us in a situation where, okay, cool, they're handcuffed or whatever the case may be. They separated, they're in the back of a truck. Now let me go ask some people what's going on. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, we definitely have to be very mindful on how we move in those type of situations.
Yeah, because I was gonna say like to your point, like, I was gonna say heroism, right? Like everybody, like a lot of people deem heroes like they look up to them, respect them, but it seems like that's not the cool thing anymore, right? You don't get the respect and the status you deserve for being a hero these days. Like when you stand up, you don't get that recognition as much as opposed to like certain controversies, right? Get more light than heroes these days, it seems like. So I think that plays another role because, at the end of the day, a lot of people want to be respected. They want that status. So even when they're doing good things, people want to be acknowledged. And if you're not being acknowledged for that and you're risking your life, it's still not a good thing. Because some people, you know, they'll be motivated to risk their lives if they know, like, hey, you're going to be acknowledged during your life or even after it if you do this act. So people are willing to even risk their life for it. But if that's not the case, you
Thing
know,
where, like, if we have to tie everything to doing the right thing to receiving recognition for it, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to prevent so many things from being done because this is just the right thing to do, and that's what you should do. To, well, I ain't know who recording, or ain't
but, but
nobody gonna be
but
here.
what I'm saying is this, like, yeah,
Like,
you're right. It should be natural, but it also be natural to give that person their flowers. You know what I'm saying? It goes both hand in hand. Like it should work both ways. Like man should naturally want to do it, and the community should naturally support the man for trying to do his job of protecting. So I think it goes both ways with that. But we could look into a little bit of her past. I pulled up her GoFundMe. I mean, I'll just show y'all real quick, uh, briefly here. So this is her current GoFundMe. She's raised over 42,000. Her friend posted this up. That's telling right there. She's also, I don't know if this is any factor, but apparently she's a single mother and student. So you know, they're really showing out for her. They're really supporting her. So she'll be definitely good. If she has to pay any tuition, that might cover some tuition too. So yeah, she's definitely raised a
still
lot
all of
of,
that.
of funds. And another thing I wanted to show y'all real quick, if this even plays a factor, because some people like to look into the history of a person, how the person acts. But this might play a factor here too, because she's not a clear, squeaky clean, innocent girl, even though she doesn't deserve to be hit with a brick. I'll repeat that. Definitely doesn't deserve to be hit with a brick. But people have been playing like a clip like this that I'm about to show you real quick. Just a short, like 20, 30-second clip here. So I'm unmuted, but you guys can still see it. So here's the video. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we here.
Um, okay. So here's the video. Um, she's sitting here slapping people like doing that kind of stuff. She said she's never done anything ever to deserve this, but she's just slapping people. So people have posted this video of her just slapping people. So I don't know if during the time, that this happened. Um, so that's the video right there. I don't know if during the time that this happened, did she provoke the guy? Not saying that person should retaliate like that, but if you're starting stuff, that's not good either. So I just wanted to point that out. Once again, it's not right for a person to retaliate like that. But if she did do something like that, that's definitely a bad look on her part. And you can't just be going provoking stuff. So that,
And also too, like even if that wasn't the case where she didn't provoke the situation, I hear a lot of people say, karma, and I get that, right? Like, things kind of sometimes, if you believe in karma, things have a way of working itself out. But I also think that at the same time, I also think that at the same time, I don't think that we necessarily should just provoke this as a thing of karma, right? Like, you know what I mean? To say like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you're going around putting your hands on people. Well, you could realize that, hey, somebody might fool around, put their hands back on you. And when that does occur, you know what I'm saying? They may not match the level of disrespect that you had. You know what I'm saying? I've always heard someone say like, when someone tries to get revenge, you can't cap the level or where they take it at when they take the revenge. You can't be like, oh, I slapped you, so you should only slap me back. But instead, if they punch you, now you mad because they responded in a different manner than you thought that they were supposed to respond. And I think that kind of goes with this karma, right? Because it's like, well, you might have been like, oh, I was whiffing at guys or I was hitting them and I'm, whatever. They should be able to take it because they're men and this, that, and the third. But when a man replies and returns his actions in a form of a manner in which you feel like is egregious, you know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, well, you know what I mean? You kind of need to let things kind of be what they be or give people their space or realize that, situations such as that when it comes to get back or when it comes to, people responding, you can't cap, you know what I'm saying, on what that response is going to be or how they're going to react in that moment. So those are the type of things that I feel like are issues at hand that would require, people to take in consideration the things that they're doing. Because again, if this is in case the fact, if this is in fact the case, when you look at that situation, you know what I'm saying, you could say like, oh, well, her past behaviors led her to that moment. You know what I mean? So that could be one thing that you consider, treat all people like you want to be treated. But also, I think too, it could be a lesson in regards to like attitude and tension and like even the way that she responded to the people who were on bystanders that was looking around, had nothing to do with the situation whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? And you banging on them. You expecting, you have a expectation that you feel like that they deserve, that is deserving of you, but you're not willing to give that expectation to, as we seen others in the streets. You're not willing to give that same type of respect to other people. You wouldn't go around and put your hands on people. And again, I'm not saying that that's okay, but I am saying that it is something that needs to be considered when you look at the fact that, again, you don't know how things are intertwined and you don't know what could cause something to set something off in the past. So, I think attitude and the way you kind of carry yourself, a lot of times it can bring about certain things into your life, things that you have done in the past. But I also wanted to take some time to talk about one of the guys who allegedly was at who did a video responding to some of the backlash, right? So it was a guy who was as emboldened enough to actually go on and record himself stating why he felt the need to not help this lady out, which to me, now I feel like you're kind of mudding it. Now at this point, like I feel like you are dragging it through the mud. It's one thing to, go about your day, mind your business and whatever, but to go online, to be as emboldened to feel like, hey, yeah, no, I was there. And this is exactly why I did not do nothing to help that lady is absolutely crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, absolutely playing it crazy.
What did he say about why?
going about your day, that's one thing. But to sit there and say to yourself, you know what, hey, to sit there and say to yourself, you know what, hey, I was there and I didn't help her because I know her from in the community, and in the community she acts like this and she does that and she does
Right.
this, so therefore I felt like, this is just her catching her karma, or this is not someone that I wanted to protect. That's tough, bro.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah, yeah. That is tough. I definitely heard about something like that and saying like, some people have been saying like, in our culture, like her Somali culture or whatever, she would have got done worse than that because of like her behavior or how she behaves. But that behavior doesn't justify her getting hit with a brick. That's inexcusable in my opinion. So that's what I wanted to say. That's what I want to say about that because that doesn't make any sense. Because once you're here, you got to try to follow and adhere to the American culture. Maybe that's what's done over in, you know, your homeland, but once you're here, you got to have to adapt to that. And that's not our standard over here. We don't tolerate that kind of stuff. So, my final thoughts on the subject is like, I think the guy should have did some type of intervention. If you're not going to do physical, you got to at least contact authorities or something. You got to do something. You can't just sit there and just like, oh well, what do you want me to do? That's not a good look. Yeah, because I can't go say you got to go gun ho and get physical in a situation because you definitely want to consider all the facts and everything that's going on, but you got to do something. You can't just sit on the sidelines and not do anything when someone's getting assaulted. At least the authorities could properly handle it, do an investigation, more of the facts can come out instead of the situation that happened, and at least she could say, hey, at least they did something. They call the authorities or something. She probably would have said, I would have liked that. People jumped in. They could explain to her, look, we don't really know what's going on, what happened, but we at least tried to contact authorities, assist you, and get the guy, arrested and arraigned and questioned about what happened. So that's the thing I got on it. You got anything else?
Oh no, I agree
So,
with ultimately at the end of the day, a reason for again people to be mindful, especially in particularly women, of the way that they may be moving in the streets. And I'm not saying that like she was just totally wrong and all that she was doing, but just being mindful, even if you are being respectful, even if you are carrying yourself in a good light, that there are individuals who may be unstable. And so with that being said, be presentative, be present minded. If you can, see if you can have a male escort you out to the car to make sure you made it home or get to your destination safely. If you can, try not to be outside at late nights in evening times where things in that where certain things can occur, you know what I'm saying, that'd be more on the dangerous side. If you can, look to travel in groups, if you will, you know what I'm saying, whenever you are moving, so that hopefully there aren't necessarily a type of situation in which people will feel as comfortable putting their hands on you or doing things like that. But as they would if you were maybe by yourself. So those are like some just little factors and things that I think can kind of play into play, but also with the people around them, be accountable, be sure to pay attention to the things that's going on. You know what I'm saying? Try to de-escalate situations as best as you can. Keep your eyes on aware as to what's going on and what's going on in the streets and things of that nature. And then that way you can kind of, make sure that you are able to help out in manners that are safe for others around, and no additional individuals will be able to be hurt by your actions. And two, that you can make it home safely to your family, because I mean, at the end of the day, those are the people who need you the most, the absolute most. So those are some of my final thoughts on it. I want to say from within my motivational minute that ultimately this is the type of situation in which I feel like we need to treat people how we want to be treated. Again, I don't know if that videos, those images of that young lady was the exact same young lady who was slapping guys in the one video, But if that is true and that does happen to her, this is an example of, wanting to treat people how you want to be treated. If you're going around recording yourself, putting hands on people, you know what I'm saying? You have to understand that somehow, some way that it may come back to you where you're being recorded and hands will be placed on you. So I think, being mindful of how we treat people, being mindful of how we treat ourselves, as well as how we treat others, I think will go a long way in preventing, a lot of unnecessary harms from occurring. Next, I want to go into our book of the month, which is a book by Catherine and Rose Petrus. And the book is called It Always Seems Impossible Until It's Done. And it's a book that basically gives quotes and storylines, if you will, from other individuals, other successful, individuals in this world, that kind of motivates others to kind of continue to move forward in their journey, right? So things that may, help you with, focus, or help you with like quotes that deal with these type of areas, persistence, diligence, all of those type of things that are needed and traits that are needed in order for an individual to move forward in society. So that right there is another great book you guys can check out this month. Again, it's Always Seems Impossible Until It's Done by Catherine and Ross Petrus. And then last but not least, for our Black Business of the Month, we are highlighting the Reborn Kings. Reborn Kings is a faith-based clothing line, and they have like t-shirts and hats and things of that nature. You guys may have seen them on Instagram, and they like with the shirts that say "Lord, protect me while I'm in these streets." There's another one that says, "Don't ask me my sign. I'm a sign from God." There's other little shirts that they have as well, that kind of help promote a positive, faith-based type of thought process, content, that's wearable, right? Like, so we have them in the hats, like I said, t-shirts, things of that nature. These is a group of three brothers who all came together to create this company. So you guys can check them out if you guys want some nice clothing line, some clothes with some good faith-based initiative type of information on it. And lastly, want to thank everybody again. You guys can catch us. Our social medias handles will be posted. Appreciate everybody who's been commenting. I want to tell you guys again, please like, follow, subscribe to our YouTube, our Instagram page as well, Connor Poise Podcast. We have a TikTok coming up. And then you also know Sam has her tagged account. You guys can find us every Wednesday on Instagram Live doing our What's Up Wednesdays. So please look out for us there around 8:30 p.m. 8 to 8:33 p.m. We'll do those. And lastly, if you guys got anything, again, feel free to email us. You can leave a comment on any of the shows, or you can DM us directly via Instagram. Like I said, our social media handles will be here and posted shortly. With that being said, I'm pretty much about to wrap up. Malik, you got anything else you want to say?
No, I don't have anything else. Pretty much hit on the point.
So with that said, everybody, you guys have a great rest of your week. Look forward to talking to you guys again next week with some new stuff. And have a good one, everybody.
All right, guys. Peace.
Peace out.